So, Lacey, what are you reading over there? What do you have?
Huh?
You pretty much up on all your reading? Got all your reading done for the meeting this week by any chance?
I'm going to do that later. Yeah, I got plenty of time.
So where do you get that book from? I'm just curious. I've never seen that book before in the house.
Oh, what's wrong with reading this book? A lady at my job referred this to me. She said it would be a really good way to make a good impression at work.
Well, you know we got the circuit overseer coming next week as well, so that's why I'm asking.
You're listening to The Critical Thought, where we challenge our listeners to use critical thinking when examining the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Hi, this is JT.
And I'm Lady C. Welcome to another episode of The Critical Thought. What are your goals for 2020?
That skit really highlights the basic culture of Jehovah's Witnesses. One scripture that we always heard all the time: buy out the opportune time. Buy out the opportune time. Well, that was really code word was you shouldn't have any time left after doing all of your watchtower stuff. What we read was always being looked at. I remember actually going into Jehovah's Witnesses houses when I was a kid. And you would see on the coffee table, they would have like Ebony, Jet magazine. If you were just running through the house visiting some of the witness kids. And then if you went back on a formal setting or when someone was invited over to dinner, and please don't let it be the circuit overseer come, they would have taken the Ebony magazines off, the Jet magazines were gone, and yes, you guessed it, they replaced it with the latest Watchtower and Awake magazine. I remember seeing brothers when we go into people's homes, and you heard the stories. Some of you have experienced it. Well, witnesses will walk by your library to see what types of books you're reading. So at all times, you basically had to be on the clock. You had to be doing something related to Watchtower, and especially when it came to your reading material. You were not free to just read things that you wanted to read. If you read things you wanted to read, you could be easily made to feel guilty. Why? Because if any witness were to ask you, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, or husband, or wife, have you read the latest magazine? If your answer was no, and you were reading something else, you knew what you were supposed to be doing. The guilt tripping is JW 101. Making people feel bad. Jehovah's Witnesses have it down to a science.
Whenever I was about to read something when I was a Jehovah's Witness, in the back of my mind, I always kept saying to myself, have I read this magazine, that magazine, study for my lesson? And I'm sure so many people that's watching this video feel the same way. So it is interesting when you look back at that skit and you see just how I was being censored by my husband and looking at my reading material, asking me whether or not I had studied for the Watchtower or my lessons for the week. And then following up with a reminder that the circuit overseer was going to be here next week.
You know, when we look back, Lady C and I, we look back at our first video that we uploaded. We literally had no idea that we would impact the number of people literally around the world. In the last 5 years, people have contacted us sharing their personal life experience and expressing appreciation for the little nuggets that we was able to help them with. But you know, as we move into the year 2020, Lady C and I, we asked the question, what are your goals? And one of the goals that we encourage everyone to consider setting, and that is, how do I continue the process of healing? Each one of us, we all can look back on the 10, 15, 20, 30 years that we gave to this organization, and each one of us can tell the story of what we have lost. But what we encourage people to do, as always, let's see how we can take the lemons and turn them into lemonade. And what we want to do in this video is just simply share a couple suggestions of things that Lady C and I have found that has helped us in this process of healing and moving forward. We have to pick up the pieces of our lives and move forward. As we always say, success is the best revenge. Everyone at the Kingdom Hall, everyone you know who is still one of Jehovah's Witnesses, they're just simply waiting for you to crash and burn. And all we say is, don't crash and burn. Get your wings and fly. And so that's what we were able to be helped to do by others. And since someone reached back and helped us, we have an obligation, we feel, to at least extend a hand to help others. And we hope that by means of our videos, we've been able to help many individuals do just that. In fact, as Lady C and I will often say, we're even thankful for the Jehovah's Witnesses who post negative comments for even being on our site. Because they too, unbeknown to them, they've already started the journey. Many of us remember when we were on the other side. I used to be on many of the early chat forums before we had YouTube and so forth. H2O and JW.net. And I used to be the one defending the society. Tooth and nail, tooth and nail. But you run into a problem when you continue to try to defend the society. It becomes harder and harder. And the reason after a while becomes clear. It's just hard to defend something that's not true. It's just that simple. And so that is one of the reasons the society does not want people on these sites. They don't want people reading certain types of information because it will become literally impossible to defend. So we wanted to just share with you, like we said, some of the things that helped us along the way.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly share some things with you that has helped me in my healing process after leaving Watchtower. I had the opportunity to do stand-up comedy at the DC Improv. Hey, DC, how y'all doing out there? Did y'all have a good childhood? I'll spare you the details now. One of my coworkers told me about Toastmasters International, and I joined several clubs. At one of my clubs, I gave a speech about genealogy. So one of my fellow Toastmasters, when she discovered that I knew genealogy or some information about it, and I often say, I just know enough to be dangerous. And she invited me to come and give a speech for Women's History Month. Now, I was only supposed to do 15 minutes, but when the main speaker didn't show up, then she invited me to do the whole 45 minutes. And guess what? I got paid $400 to speak for 45 minutes about genealogy. So, I mean, so these are some of the things I'm just telling you about that I got a chance to get involved in.
Probably one of the greatest tools that helped Lady C and I along the way of healing was psychology class that we took in college. In fact, it was the very first class that we took because we wanted to answer a very simple question. How is it possible to take basically good, decent people and get them to believe anything that you tell them, to do anything that you tell them? Well, psychology, we found, was that tool. In fact, we encourage everyone, and we know around the world there are people whose circumstances are different. But if it is possible, we highly encourage to take at least one semester at your community college on psychology. And if you take a class on psychology, approach the professor, talk to the professor, let him or her know why you're taking this class. And that's what Lady C and I did. So the psychology will help you to better understand why our family and friends are still there.
When we first left Watchtower, I was like, we got to write a book. We got to write a book about our life. But you know what I discovered? It wasn't until after we left that I found a whole lot of experiences that we had after leaving that would make for a much better book. And so, yes, we are. We're working on our own book about our life story in this religion, about the people that we've met throughout the years and how we've helped people through our YouTube channel and all of that. But when we first left the organization, we joined a local writers group. And we went to annual writers conferences, and we met a lot of nice people. And we became friends with this one guy in our area who writes crime novels. And he was interested in having like a chapter produced. and I was getting my feet wet in video production. So I was like, hey, let's team up, and I'll produce like a chapter in your book. And so we got together with him and invited some friends over, and I set up our home like a production studio. We invited friends over that also, they were in the movie, and JT even had a small part in it.
Come on, man. You can help me out with the timeline and stuff. The cops will believe you.
You're Hannibal Jones? The Hannibal Jones that we've heard so much about?
And so just doing little fun things with people as we met people, you know? And so that was really fun. You know how when you leave the organization, people say, you really need to talk to a therapist, right? So I did that. I went to a therapist to get help on how to transition from this religion. And as time went on, and as I'm beginning to heal, and I'm feeling really good, and I'm thinking about all this money that I'm paying this therapist, I'm thinking I could get a book and read it. Because I didn't have as many issues leaving, because I was more happy to leave than to stay in the Jehovah's Witness religion, I didn't feel like I had a whole lot to overcome, because here I am, now I'm able to do what I want to do in my life. And when I say do what I want to do in my life, I'm not talking about going out getting in trouble. I'm talking about academically. I can read, I can study, I can learn, I can excel, all of that, okay? So when I stumbled on audible.com, I fired my therapist, because I'm like saying, the money that I'm spending here every week, I can get an audiobook for $14.95 and listen to a book. And I have found that doing these books have helped me immensely. Not to mention, I just found out that I have over 400 books in my catalog. So I'm telling you, you just got to do what works for you. And that's what worked for me. And I also discovered that not just self-help books, but also fiction. After I did so many self-help books and books to tell you, you know, how to get off the beaten path onto the better path, and how to get where you got to go in your life, I wanted to just chill out with a good book, okay? And I started doing some pretty good fiction novels. And so now, when I want to just escape my life, and I want to just get involved in somebody else's drama, or find out about somebody else's problems, I'll do a fiction novel. And so I think most of my books really are the fiction novels. And as they say, there is truth in fiction. So hey, there's some things that I've learned through those books. A lot of people say, oh, I can't learn from anything in a book that's not for real. But the people that wrote the book is real, and they're telling some real stories. And so I've learned a lot about life through those books. So I'm just showing you how, you know, once you leave the religion, you can do a whole lot of things.
Also, to get more information on how we have taken the pieces of our lives and begin to put them back together, we invite you to check out Lady C's other channel, Hidden Struggles, where you can actually learn life's lessons without going through the experience. This has been JT.
And this has been Lady C.
We want to thank you for supporting us this past year, and we look forward to your support again this year.
And for those of you who are not subscribed to our channel, we invite you to do so. And be sure to hit that bell to receive notifications when we put up new content.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.